good sticks, everyone? Welcome to the Captain Avalanche Fancast, your unofficial source for all things Colorado Avalanche hockey and more from a fan perspective, hosted by me, Captain Avalanche Corey, and he's our unbiased, national announcer, Dom. Now, we're no insiders. We're not inside the locker room face-to-face with our favorite players, but we hope to create a relatable and welcoming environment because we're just like all of you listening, fans. Fans with a deep passion for the game of hockey, and in this case, the Colorado Avalanche. The playoffs have begun, and boy, was week one giving us more than we could have ever hoped for. Rivalries are beginning anew. Teams who you never thought would have beef with each other are beating the shit out of each other on the ice. Teams' best scorers are duking it out. There's just so much to talk about, and I think we have some surprises here. Everything and more on this week's episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. Now, Dom, I think let's do our best to do it this way. We're going to go day by day, pretending that we don't already know what we know now, and we'll just try and put ourselves in the mindset of the games for that day. Does that make sense?
Yep. We're just going to go recount as best we can, not have any future bias.
Exactly.
I'll do my best. Apparently, I am unbiased as your national commentator here.
That's right.
And hopefully my commentating will be less obvious than what ESPN has had to say throughout this week.
I've not heard great things from many folks, apparently. So I'm glad that at least the first round games are on the local channels as well. But we'll just kick it right off here, and that's day one. Woo! Carolina and Ottawa, game one. Ottawa, and for me, I also just wrote little blurbs for every game here. And Dom, if you want to dive deeper into any of these, we totally can. But knowing us, if we did our full, back and forth tangential rants here that we usually do, we'll never get out of here. So I just kept it short and sweet, thoughts on every game. And obviously, for the important ones, we'll get a bit deeper. But as for Carolina, feel free to interject however you'd like. Carolina and Ottawa, game one. Ottawa looked outworked and overmatched. Carolina was simply playing their game, and they were playing it better. Ottawa had an immensely difficult time generating either offense or defense. The sad thing is everyone said if Ottawa can just get good goaltending, then they're a threat. Well, Linus Ullmark gave it to them in this game. Truly, he looked great. But so did Freddie Anderson, who seems to look great at the start of every Canes playoff run until he falls off a cliff or gets injured.
Yeah, I would say the falling off a cliff feels more literal when it comes to Freddie Anderson with his injury history in the playoffs. But it's still early. It hasn't happened yet. Knock on wood, Canes fans, that it doesn't happen at all. You would think this game, honestly, this game went the way I would have thought.
Agreed.
For game one with Ottawa, Carolina. I said it in our predictions, but I really thought Ottawa could irritate Carolina, give them a push, be a bit of a test, not be a pushover where Carolina was just going to dominate them. And this game was physical. Carolina had to step up and hit more than they do normally during the season, but they were looking to hit the body. Ottawa had like the first 5 shots on goal in the game, even though the Canes had the better chances, more possession, and more hits. They just weren't getting pucks through to the net. And then when they did, Ullmark was on point. But we're completely forgetting that 3 seconds in, Brady Tkachuk did the most Brady Tkachuk thing ever to start off the series with a fight at center ice, captain v. captain with Stahl. And Corey, I feel like we feel a little bit differently about it. So I thought we should talk about it briefly because I expect nothing less from Tkachuk and have the utmost respect for Stahl defending his home ice, being the captain and starting off just like we started Four Nations between the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, I get it. And I just really do not like either of the Tkachuk brothers. Brady's like, I'm gonna set the tone and rah-rah-ree. My team's not gonna be pushed around and blah, 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 blah. Like, dude, fuck off. Shut the fuck up. You're so annoying. And you know what? It didn't do shit. It didn't do anything. What did it change? They got their fucking shit rocked that game for Ottawa. Like, he did nothing else for his team. Like, yeah, dude, great that you're leading with your fists. Instead, you're not leading with your fucking brain. That's the problem, is now he's also taken multiple fucking penalties that have resulted in goals for the Canes on the power play. So to me, great that you want to set the tone. You want to be physical. You want to make sure that, the Carolina Hurricanes know that Ottawa's not going to be pushed around because Brady Tkachuk, am at the helm. But I don't think it proved anything. I really don't. And also Stahl fucking basically clocked his lights out anyway. So
that's what I was going to say. It set the tone exactly for how the game went because Stahl got the better shot in that fight. He's not a fighter. This is not what he does. And it was a quick fight. It wasn't like either guy landed a knockout blow, but Stahl definitely had the best shot across the face of Tkachuk. And then the Canes went on to out-hit the Senators 57-39. That's an 18-hit differential. They outshot them 29-22. So they had the better offense. They had the more hits. They had fewer penalty minutes. Neither team was able to convert on any of their power play opportunities in this game. The only thing the Senators had was the faceoff dot, and it was a differential of 7, not a huge difference at the end of the day. Certainly in their favor, but not enough to just suddenly put pucks in the net. We got a shutout. We got a shutout to start these playoffs. And it honestly, the last thing I would say to disagree with you is, the Senators didn't do much, but the Canes offense also underwhelmed a bit in this game. There was chances for Ottawa where I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly, there was a goal called back. So there was a chance when it was still zeros that Ottawa could have turned the tables really quickly. And so the Canes got away with their first game jitters, getting a little bit slow on their offensive start and just outclassed Ottawa at the end of the day to get the win.
Yep. And all the offense to Brady, this is not Team USA. This is not the Olympics. You are playing with your team now. This is unfortunately, not the creme de la creme, the best of the best, but whatever. Moving on. Wild and Stars game 1. Everyone is clowning the Stars after this game. You better watch yourself, and we'll get to tonight too. The Stars lost 5-1 to the Avalanche last year too, in game 1, and look at the end result of that series. That being said, Minnesota really did shit kick them this game, but I did expect a much better result, more likely a win out of Dallas in game 2. And that this Dallas team does not go away.
Go away! Nobody likes you!
You cannot get rid of them until the final horn sounds in their elimination game.
Well said, Corey. And we should have made this an official prediction in our prior episode because it's been 4 straight years, something like that, where Dallas has lost game 1 of the first round. This is just an annual tradition.
Or they lose game 1 of like most
up.
series. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, they don't show up in game 1, but they also don't care. So if they lose 2-1, 6-5, or 6-1, really doesn't matter. They're probably gonna lose game 1. I did have that flickering moment though, where I was like, man, we're still allowed to change our brackets. Should I make this Minnesota wins in 7? And then I was with you. I was like, nah, Dallas always does this. Dallas is still going to make it go 7 games, and they'll be at home in game 7, and they'll probably take it. One other note I think of importance, or a couple other notes, I think. Minnesota out-hit Dallas 49-39 in this game, so not as big of a differential as the first game between Carolina and Ottawa, but Dallas with that big defense would have thought they would have been throwing their weight around a bit more than Minnesota. Minnesota was also 2 for 4 on the power play. That team is dangerous on the man advantage. So Dallas needs to mind their P's and Q's looking ahead in this series to not give up more power play opportunities to Minnesota.
But I mean, the same can be said about Dallas too. And I kind of knew that this was going to be a special teams battle. I mean, both teams are very capable of scoring 5-on-5, but I mean, when these two teams have been operating at high levels with the man advantage, it doesn't surprise me that I think a lot of this series is going to come down to that. One thing I'll say is interesting about Dallas is this isn't necessarily like a knock, but it's not a compliment either, is I think they sometimes have a hard time, even though they ultimately win a lot of their series. I mean, that's evident by the fact that they've been to 3 straight conference finals. They have a hard time really wrangling strong control. Like, yes, they'll win games. They'll get timely wins at that. They'll take a series lead, but then their opponent will be able to tie it right back or something like that. I mean, I just feel like it's rare that you're seeing Dallas win a series in 4 or 5 games. Truly.
I agree. I think Dallas is that grind it out. They muck it up and then they count on their puck luck. And what you were saying is they just don't go away. They just get there. For lack of a better word for what's coming to mind right now as a metaphor, it's like in blackjack when the dealer has 13 and then runs with a bunch of baby cards to get a 21 when they're supposed to bust. And you're just like, seriously? You're supposed to lose. Every single thing here, you are supposed to lose. You are not supposed to get lucky again and again and again. You're not playing dominant. You're not looking like the better team that deserves to win. You're not. And yet they still
do
somehow
anyway.
find a way sometimes.
Yep.
It's as long as it's not game 1 of a series, of course. But yeah, I think all of the stars for Minnesota, it feels like also the stars for Minnesota, not intended pun, but I just realized how that's kind of funny. But they all showed up. You had Eriksson Ek with a couple goals, Kaprizov with a goal, Boldy with the empty netter for a second goal in the game, right? All of their star power showed up in this game. They have to keep doing that throughout the series if they're going to beat Dallas, because otherwise Dallas is going to grind away at them. And if their stars aren't showing up, I'm still concerned about Minnesota's depth in the long run.
As am I. The Flyers and Pens
final note,
game. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, final note. I know you knew already. We had a brief chat about this, but I think my highlight of this game was, I don't know what rock I was living under, but hearing the Wall of St. Paul about Wallstedt, just awesome nickname. And anyone else who hadn't heard it before, like me, who was living under a rock,
I really
now
don't
you've
know
heard
how
it
you
and
never
can
heard
appreciate
that.
what a great nickname that is.
I really don't know how you'd never heard that. I guess one last note on my part.
I'm too busy watching the Pacific.
People were very quick to clown Dallas on social media, which, you know, that's what all sports fans do. But it's so funny to me how people often forget, like, this is a 7-game series. It's not over in 1. So I knew what was coming, though, from past experience. I knew. Wow, I don't know how that just missed. If anybody's wondering, I have 2 games going on my screen right now. Waltz recording this episode. But yeah, I really, wow, that didn't miss. Well, when you were talking about Minnesota power play, we'll get to it. But it was just funny to see.
I just saw it on mine too.
It's just funny to me to see how fast people clown Dallas on social media. And it's like, yeah, for good reason. It was a bad first game by them, but it's like, I knew it was coming. Anyway, Flyers and Pens game 1. This is the one where we really have to try to pretend like we don't know what's happened already. So just strictly talking about game 1, this game, and really all of them, was as nasty as it was advertised to be. These teams fucking hate each other. But evidently not as much as their fans, as there were multiple fights and ejections from the arena before the puck even dropped. There was a penalty about every 2 minutes, and neither team could do shit with them. But the Flyers came out and surprised in this game and controlled the flow of play really very well. Pittsburgh couldn't do things that normally make them effective, and we'll see what happens in game 2 because the Pens in their piss jerseys just lost at home.
Yeah. I think I was surprised by this more than anything to see the Flyers come out the way they did. And it was a slow first period, very physical, very just angsty, I think is a good word for it.
Yes.
But the Flyers never trailed. They got on the board first. Yeah, the Pens tied it, but the Flyers took control in the third and were able to defend a lead. They weren't perfect at it. They did let Pittsburgh score again and make it 3-1 late with a minute left, or 3-2, sorry, late with a minute left. But overall, did a great job. I guess for game one, if we're not talking about the other games and what we know and trends,
just game one, Dom.
player I want to recognize for being the biggest rat of game one has to be Travis Sanheim for Philadelphia. Going after Sidney Crosby multiple times this game, absolutely zero respect for Sid, trying to get him off his game, cross-checking him in the middle of the back at every opportunity, taking him down. Unrelenting in game one was Sanheim in his hunt for Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, I have to agree. It was pretty brutal. And I might make note of it in the next game, but I mean, for Pittsburgh, who had one of the best power play units in the NHL throughout most of the regular season, just completely shut down. And people had talked about that, where, people are concerned about the Avalanche's power play and yada, yada, yada. Totally fair, and that it started to look up towards the end of the season, which is absolutely the truth. And there's still plenty of time for that to change. But at the end of the day, I think you have to be the better team at 5-on-5, because I believe it was Hockey Psychology that said this. Actually, or maybe it was the local writer for Colorado that, in the playoffs. Yeah, it was the local writer for Colorado. We've seen top power plays get shut down. We've seen teams with no power plays come out of nowhere with a great one in the playoffs. So, and I think that's very evident here with the Penguins. I mean, again, there was infinite penalties in this game one. It was insane. And yet Pittsburgh couldn't do anything with them. So, it's great that you have good special teams, but it doesn't matter if you're not able to get past the team and score 5-on-5.
Well, that's the thing, too. It's like, do you have good special teams? Because Philadelphia supposedly doesn't, but there was in this first game, it was brought on the screen at one point, I want to say. Maybe it was in the second game, but either way, it still applies here that coming into the playoffs, post-Olympic break, Philadelphia is converting on 30% of their power plays. So even though the Pens are ranked better overall, they haven't scored on like their last 25 or something like that, they were saying in this game one. So it's a really long dry spell for the Pens that they might have the better ranking, but which team is better right now, according to the last month of play post Olympic break? So obviously, no matter what, 5-on-5 is going to matter more. Although in this series, I feel like we're going to continue to see plenty of 4-on-4 play.
I honestly think a big factor is Porter Martone. Before we move on here to our final or to our next day, I think Porter Martone has been a revelation for the Flyers, truly.
Yeah, and we'll talk about him more with each of the other games for sure. But why he did not play?
He was the one who put this
season.
game away for the Flyers. He got just the pure snipe off on Stuart Skinner.
Yeah, and the real Stuart Skinner, I think, stood up. Like, he had some moments, but
I think he's been good.
Meh, overall, nothing special. He's been all right. I don't think he's been anything to write home about, but he hasn't been the weakness or the letdown at the same time, I don't think.
Yes. But all right. Playoffs Day 2. Alrighty, everyone. So in Day 2, we saw on the early game, the Avalanche and the Kings finally take the ice. So I'll give you my general thoughts, and then I'll narrow in on some specifics here. The Kings won in the sense that they succeeded in getting the Avalanche to play their style of game. They slowed things down. They boxed out the Avs and heavily limited their ability to get high danger chances, aided by the fact that Forsberg played fantastically. Towards the end, they managed to frustrate the Avs and goad them into taking unnecessary penalties. However, The Avs managed to overcome that. They pushed through and managed to break the tie. The Kings want to keep these games low score because they know they can't. And if they can just get the one tiebreaker goal, they can turtle up and keep the Avs at bay. But the Avs broke the tie first and essentially got the insurance off of a mistake. And against a team like LA, that's what you have to be, is opportunistic and ready to spring on those mistakes. Wedgwood looked a little shaky at the very start, but he dialed in and was superb. And I'll talk more about him here in a second. The Avs did have several moments where they did overwhelm the Kings with speed, but weren't able to capitalize. They'll need to try and flex that more going forward. Work to be done. And also, or a grinding win, but 1 down, 15 to go. Also, Adrian Kempe is a rat.
Yeah, if I may, with some general thoughts before we get into the specifics as well. I think the Avalanche and the media is overreacting a bit, saying that the Avs didn't play well. I disagree.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree. I don't know what the fuck this is, but sorry, I'll let you finish because I do want to jump in on that. Please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we both have a lot to say on this one. The media is all talking about underwhelming this scoring. Yes, LA's playing their game and mucking it up, making it difficult. And yet the Avalanche still getting chances, and they just haven't gone in the net. But the fact is the Avalanche are driving play. They are having the vast majority of dangerous chances, the vast majority of all cycles, right? They are controlling, while LA might be mucking up the middle, the Avalanche are controlling when it matters. So yeah, I can understand for some why it might be underwhelming that this Avalanche offense hasn't converted more. But we knew this was what the Kings were going to try to do, was try to play defense and survive. That's what they've done all season. Just try to grind it out, keep games close. Like I said, if the Kings are going to win a game, it's going to happen in like double overtime. That I still believe that. And yeah, it's been stressful to watch at points, but I thought the Avalanche were the far better team in this game. It seemed very clear to me. And sometimes goalies just make it difficult. And Forsberg has been a wall in net for LA to bail them out when the Avs, just raw talent, starts to break through.
Yeah, and oh God, I had so much like going through my brain as you were saying that, not to mention I'm watching hockey at the same time. But I have to look away from my screen to say this. But I mean, that's what LA has been doing all year. It's just now elevated. And I mean, to their own credit, they have a chip on their shoulder. They are the team that literally, you know, look at any of the polls, like who's going to win the series between the Avalanche and the LA Kings. Fuck, I'm not even sure every LA Kings fan selected the fucking Kings to win in their series. And I mean, that's homerism. Like, yeah, you're going to select your own team to fucking win on your playoff bracket. I don't even know if all of them selected that. So, I mean, by all means, the Kings are like David versus Goliath here, except they don't even have the fucking slingshot. They have their fists, and that's it. So, I mean, I understand.
They have Drew Doughty. That's what they have.
They do, who is playing an obscene amount. We'll get to him after we talk about game 2. So, I mean, I understand where they have the chip on their shoulder. And credit to Hockey Psychology, who basically said, and I'm breaking my rule a little bit here because this really does apply to both games, who said, like, even despite LA having the most overtime losses in the league, that underlyingly the metrics show that they're better than they are. And I mean, this series is proving that. And what's so silly to me is that, oh, you know, the Avs aren't fucking shitting out 8 goals on them every single game. Did we ever stop to consider the fact that LA would like to win this series as well, and that they're not just going to fucking roll over and give up, that they're going to take that game plan that they have been coached on and executed on all fucking year and elevate it to the best of their ability? Like, yes, the Avalanche are getting mucked up right now. They are not necessarily playing the Avalanche style of hockey, but who the fuck cares? Here's where it's annoying. As a fan, you want to see them score more goals. You want them to cruise into these victories a little easier. You don't want the decision of the game coming in period 3, because if the Avs can jump out to a 3-0 lead, the game is essentially over at that point. Because all of LA's goals throughout this entire series, the 2 that they have scored, have both come from one guy and have come on the power play, right? But at the same time, do people forget that the Avalanche were also the best defensive team in the NHL? To the Avalanche's credit, they're also being careful. They're making sure that they're not giving LA any excess chances while making sure they can generate their own. And just like you said, a lot of this really is coming down to the Kings relying on Forsberg, who has been so fantastic in this series. I have to truly commend him on that. And then you have fucking DJ Smith in his post-game press conference basically saying, well, the Avalanche have to look inwards on themselves. Are they really going to be okay with only scoring 2 goals a game? Yeah, DJ, we are. Do you want to know fucking why? Because those 2 goals win us the fucking game. So I completely agree with you. I don't know where this thought process is coming from that the Avalanche are playing bad. No, the Avalanche are in fact playing incredibly well and matching up to a Kings style that is incredibly slow and boring and shitty and one that no one enjoys playing against, to then still grind out the wins anyway. So yeah, that ended up being way more of a rant than, I expected it to be, but I couldn't help myself because I agree. It's just, it's very frustrating. Yes, please.
You gave me some thoughts there to add, and you're right. I think DJ Smith, he's trying to get under the skin. He's trying to get the Avs to be petty, to prove a point, and to make a mistake, to try to show off. And the fact is yeah, it's not the Avalanche's normal brand of hockey, but guess what? LA has this way of doing this to every team. You can defy their style and you're going to risk turning it over and paying the price for it. Like you said. So, excuse me. So it is better for the Avalanche to just go in and say, you know what? They're going to play this style and we're going to beat them at their own game because we can. We're that good. It doesn't matter. It doesn't phase us. If the game is going to be slow, so be it. We're not going to get pissed off. We're not going to make mental errors. We're going to go out there and play. And that's what it is. They are saying, you know what? We're so good as a team. We don't have to play our style to win this series. We will play your style and we'll still win this series. 2 goals isn't enough, buddy. You didn't have 2 goals in this game, right? And when we know now that they only have 2 goals in the series. I know we're trying not to do that, but still, come on. It doesn't matter how many you score. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Shout out Dom Toretto, right? That right there, winning is winning.
Exactly.
And the Avs won. The Avs never trailed. And LOC, baby, I just got to say it. His going down as the game winner feels awesome since we didn't get to see a lot of him this year. He's back. And it just felt very much like an Avalanche clutch win.
Yeah, he is most certainly the kind of guy that when the moment is big, when the lights are bright, that he can step up and excel and he can win. Going into some specifics for this game 1, because you talked about LOC. Well, I'm going to talk about Artturi Lehkonen doing what he does best, and that's scoring big goals. That is all Artturi Lehkonen does, especially in the playoffs or even on the world stage. If a massive goal is needed, look to him and he will be there. This game was deadlocked, and I'd like to point out I was at game 1 here. Was deadlocked far longer than it should have been, but Artemi Panarin continues to be the most clutch player in Avalanche history. It, in my mind, will go down as one of the single greatest trades this team has ever made. He isn't flashy, and every goal he scores is a foot from the net, but fuck does he do that specific thing better than anyone else in the NHL. I love Artturi Lehkonen, and I cannot wait to watch more of him.
Oh, Lecky's been great. And I feel like it was something in game one, or maybe it was something we said last week, and I'm just remembering now. But somebody mentioned, I think, with Wedgwood getting this as his first playoff start. And I just thought it was funny how people have looked down on him and he continues just to show up. So did Nichushkin, right? These Dallas castoffs, let's be real, that's what they are good players. And the Avalanche are a good organization, a good system that goes out, does their pro scouting, finds their right players, puts them in the right place to succeed. And we see it. Even if it's not on the scoreboard, this team is thriving across all four lines right now.
Yes, and I mean that's the biggest difference right now. LA has one line who's been able to really muck it up for them scoring wise. The Avs have four. And that's what I think's been so important. Once again, cheating a little bit across both of these games. The fact of the matter is they've been getting scoring from everyone. Yes, when you need that big goal, the big line has stepped up both times, either to tie it or to break the tiebreaker. But then to get the winner, both have been depth goals. So that's massive because that's the point that everybody was talking about, that the Avalanche's depth can come up big for them. And they've done exactly that. Because, of course, the LA Kings are going to do their absolute best to shut down the top line. Every time Nathan MacKinnon was on the ice, so was Drew Doughty. So the fact that the Avalanche don't have to overextend these top guys and really be able to put anyone out there and know that they can probably score a goal that they need is huge. But you talked about Scott Wedgwood, which leads me to my next point here, and that's that he locked in. And, you know, as I said, I won't lie to you. When the game first started, I was a little worried. Or no, let me reemphasize that. When the game first started, I was a little worried about Scott Wedgwood. It did not look like he had his typical confidence handling pucks that came his way. Some of his first initial rebounds were ugly. But after that initial flurry, there was nothing to fear. He looked absolutely stone cold, and he was making sure nothing got past him. So the Avalanche could be the ones to break the tie. You can tell he gives the team so much confidence to play around him. Forsberg and him both played so well, but man, Wedgwood had some, in this first game, some utterly hairy stops that he had to make, and it was beyond critical that he did. Had the Kings gotten the first goal, they wouldn't have even tried to score after that. So forcing them to try and continue to shoot gave the Avalanche the space that they needed to break the deadlock. I don't know if Bednar will continue to roll with him and switch to Blackwood next game. Spoiler alert, he didn't. But for someone who has never gotten a career start in the playoffs, he sure didn't look like a newbie. I just wish we could have gotten the shutout for him.
Yeah, and, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a shutout. It doesn't change the win, right? But he played well enough, and when LA had that rare opportunity, he was locked in. He was where he needed to be in the right position and made the save. And he made more flashy saves than we're used to as well. Let's be real. When we talked about Wedgwood last week, he was a wedge wall. Backing up, you also mentioned Jared Bednar, and this being game one, we didn't know for certain, but when he took that puck to the face, and then he wasn't behind the bench for the rest of the regular season, it was not a guarantee he would be back for game one. So even though we probably all assumed and hoped he would be, just great to see the coach okay behind the bench, because taking a puck square to the face hurts. It breaks things. So glad to see coach all right.
I would like to say that he did come back for a few of the final games of the regular season. He was back before playoffs started. Just would like to clarify that he did come back.
Well, I must have missed it because I was busy stressing about the Sharks. But
That
in any case,
is so
happy to have the coach
fair.
behind the beat.
But
the
yes,
bench.
the sentiment remains all the same. So yes, I agree with you. But final point here. Fuck Adrian Kempe. For two teams that are not divisional rivals and have only ever played each other twice in the playoffs in history, this game was much more chippier than I expected it to be. I mean, it got, mean. at multiple junctures, junctions, particularly towards the end. But I can tell you why. LA was trying to get under Colorado's skin, bait them into taking dumb penalties to give them an advantage, and that did work to an extent, but they really were trying to push every button. But even with that knowledge, I truly do not know what Adrian Kempe's fucking problem was. He goes at Makar out of nowhere, then gets mad when Makar and the rest of the team take offense to that. I had no beef with him before. Now I have all the beef with him. Then he was a shit ass in the penalty box too, but I guess he knew to boo himself. As Gabriel Landeskog said, quote, "There are no countrymen," close quote. I'm truly shocked that he didn't fully drop the gloves and just start pounding his face in, but whatever.
And Avalanche fans, welcome to hating Adrian Kempe.
I know.
This was different for me. I was just like, yes, I feel the empathy of every Avalanche fan right now. As a Sharks fan who has played LA 4 times a year for years, dealt with Adrian Kempe for years. He's fucking annoying.
Yeah,
he's a rat who doesn't get a lot of attention. I don't bring him up because I'm more pissed off by Vegas these days. But he's always been there, and it's just the West Coast bias, or bias against the West Coast more accurately, where you don't always hear about those players when they're being ratty, the same as you hear about a Marchand or a Tom Wilson. And maybe he's not as ratty as that during a regular season, or his most extreme moments haven't gone as far as those guys, but he is consistently being a little shit out there, like trying to do just enough to instigate and then get away with it, so that he's really trying to get his team a power play. It's a game within the game, and you can see that intentionality with his moves and what he's doing out there.
Yep. And I mean, that being said, the Avalanche 100% need to have a bit more discipline here. They need to really clean it up to stay out of the box, because again, that's where LA is getting their goals. And so you need to make sure that you are not taking anything unnecessary. All that being said, and this just kind of goes for everything, I really don't want to talk about officiating, but across many of these games, I mean, I hate to say it, Colorado's included, I have to be a little critical here for both ends, really. Like, just let these guys play. Now, I understand you need to call egregious things, as you well should, but there are some calls being made here that I'm like, why? It's completely disruptive of game flow, and it doesn't even fit the textbook definition of what they're typically calling. Then they're calling these things on one team, but they're not calling them on the other. And again, that's across all of these different series. And it just feels like there is an extreme lack of consistency, and it's absolutely disrupting the flow of play. And this was especially evident with game 2 with Colorado versus LA. But again, we will talk about it here in a little bit. But Dom, unless you do have something to say about refereeing, I want to keep it rolling here. But I needed to get that in, because as much as I don't want to talk about refereeing, I feel like I have to talk about refereeing just a little bit.
Yeah, I have a couple quick points.
Please.
I've seen some of the softest slashing calls in the playoffs that I didn't even see called during the regular season.
That's what I'm saying.
Think that is atrocious.
Thank you. That's
The
really
other
where I
thing
wanted to go. It's not like you didn't even call this during the regular season. What is this now in the playoffs? Sorry, go ahead. You're really getting my motor running.
Hey, it's thought provoking, and we're on the same page. But it's some of these slashes, when you have these stops in play and the players are pissed off and they feel like they can do a better job officiating, we're getting more of these tussles, more of these little roughings after. You're not having as many full-blown fights, but it then takes longer to get it all sorted out. So if you don't call the bullshit soft penalty, we keep playing, you also don't waste as much time with the shit after the whistle as well. So it just gets escalated, right? Because it's the playoffs and it's going to happen. There's just been a lot of that roughing after. I will say this as a pro for officiating, or one thing I think they're doing right. Some fans might be complaining, and if I hear ref, you suck because of it, I'm going to lose. I'm going to blow my top here. I'm going to lose my mind. It's the playoffs. You can get hit a second or two later after you've gotten rid of the puck than you can during the regular season. Finish your checks. I'm happy to say the refs are not calling it when a guy is skating full speed, even if he gets there late and finishes his check, let it happen. Don't call it. Don't call interference, whatever. Let him finish his checks. I want to see more finished checks. If there's anything I want to see more of from the Avs, you see a body, take the body, because they'll let you get away with it instead of trying to do stick on stick, right? And that's where they're more likely to call things like a slash or a hook. Just hit the guy in the fucking corner and then move about your day.
I admittedly think the Avs
that is my only thing. Well, I'll agree they did. Again, not trying to get too much into it. I think they did a better job hitting in game 1 than game 2 personally. But again, I love playoff hockey because of the hitting. I know that's not everybody. But I love the amped up physicality. Like THG, I really want to see a game with over 100 hits, and I'm just devastated that there hasn't been one yet. But it's going to happen. I just believe it has to happen because it's the playoffs and it's supposed to be tougher. So anyway, I'm losing the plot a little bit here. The point is, at the end of this, though, despite my gripes with the officiating, I'm glad they're not calling penalties for those hits that are a second late. As long as it's not an elbow to the head or a clear boarding, it's fair game. And you're not going to get those interference calls in the corner. So that I am happy about. That is the one thing I will give to the Zebras.
Did you not see Brent Burns soul-taking hit yesterday?
Well, that's Brent Burns. I expect that of Brent Burns. I'm talking about everybody else. I'm talking about...
I think they've done a good job.
I'm talking about Nachos.
He did good. When he got sandwiched yesterday, he ended up fucking going back and getting the same guy who was part of that sandwich who basically hit him in the head. He got him back for it. LOC took an elbow from I don't fucking remember who, but he hit him the very next game too. Caught him clean. So I think the Avalanche have been doing fine in terms of their hitting department personally, when they're not a team necessarily known for it. But we can come back to that. Montreal and Tampa, game 1. God, this game was everything it was advertised to be. The youthful talent and vigor versus the experienced vets, and it did not disappoint. But this game was a much bigger special teams battle than I expected it to be. Tampa with the top 3 penalty kill could not stop Montreal's power play, and specifically Yuri Slafkovsky. First overall pick, he is not a bust. But I do think Montreal's goaltending and lack of 5-on-5 scoring could be trouble for them as this series winds on. But that doesn't matter right now because Yuri Slafkovsky gets the power play hat trick and wins it quickly in OT. What an incredible game. I cannot wait for the next one. And the next one didn't disappoint either.
Yeah, this game was everything we hoped for. High hitting from both teams, very balanced on the penalty minutes called in the game. So I thought the refs actually officiated this one very well compared to some of the other series. It was balanced in their calls. But yeah, 5 for 10 combined on the power play. Montreal, I get it. Tampa has the number 3 penalty kill. It doesn't fucking matter. Montreal's offense is that poor. You just saw the Minnesota goal?
Yes. Holy shit. That was
pretty
nasty. Sweet. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry to interrupt you. That was wow. What a pass.
But Montreal, that penalty kill is so potent. I remember saying to you or texting you, it's like when it was in overtime, I'm like, if Montreal goes on the power play, they're just going to win this game. That it's too good. It is just too good. Yuri Slafkovsky is honestly in the very limited games we've seen so far, he is the MVP of the playoffs right now in my book. He has been the most fun to watch across all these games, most consistently, just in the right place, making the big plays, just always recognizable on the ice. He dominated this game. combined total of 42 shots on goal. That's it. We had 7 goals on 42 shots in a game with Andre Vasilevsky in net. So that's just telling you something about it. It's not about shot volume. It's about getting the right shots, picking their corners, and Montreal is loaded with some snipers. I agree with you, though. The Lightning were the far better team at 5-on-5. They absolutely dominated that second period for the vast majority of it, after Montreal did well to sneak out of the first period with the lead in this game. Because, again, I do think Tampa had more chances and the better of the chances in the first period, but it didn't matter. Josh Anderson scored first. So, yeah, I do think we're going to see, not a spoiler alert, but the battle between Brandon Hagel and Uri Slafkovsky in every single facet of this game, on the scoreboard, on the ice, everything. Whichever one has the stronger will is going to win this series for their team.
First of all, it would not surprise me if we saw every game in this series go to overtime at this point. And also, this game was just, I can't lie, I am getting a little sick of the scrums happening after every like goalie hold or goalie whistle. And I mean, that's happening amongst multiple series, many different teams. So like, I get it to some extent, but oh my fucking God, it is making these games so much longer. And I get it if you're protecting your goaltender. I get it if you're protecting a teammate. But at this point, it just feels like a lot of these teams are doing it just to do it. And I mean, it was brutal in terms of Montreal and Tampa Bay in this first game. And the second game, we'll get there. But oh my God, it is. And I mean, this game was just, I know they're division rivals, but my goodness, they were just mucking it up every chance they had.
Well, I think, unlike some of the other series that I would agree with you, it's been a little much. I think these two teams genuinely hate each other this much. I honestly, I think we hate each other a fuck ton, but we don't want to drop the gloves and get thrown out of this game.
Yes.
So both teams are like, I'm going to go right up to the line of what I can get away with and get called for roughing, because I hate you. I hate your stinking guts, but I'm not leaving this game for more than 2 minutes or 4 minutes, whatever it is. I'm not getting a misconduct. I'm not getting thrown out. So, you know, I think what we need is that rule where it's like, if there's any second fights, it's an automatic like game misconduct, go back to the showers, right? If there's a second fight, I think that needs to be put on hold for the playoffs, where you could have full-blown line brawls. Then they'd get it out of their system, have some actual fucking fights, and we'd have less of the scuffles after each whistle. That's my opinion. If you let them actually fight without the consequence of their night being done, they'll handle it once, maybe twice. And if they do it 3 times, they get thrown out anyway. I remember saying that in one of my fun facts. So there is a limit. You're not just having this constant roughing after every whistle. So my solution, that, of course, since it would be effective, Gary Bettman will never do it.
Exactly, Dom. Gary Bettman hates good solutions to problems with his fucking system. That would just be ridiculous, Dom. Why would you even suggest something like that? You silly sausage, you. But, you know, it is what it is, and I think it will, as we move along here, I do think it will kind of level itself out a little bit. I do think it'll calm down more, because I mean, in all honesty, teams can only keep that up for so long. It's exhausting, and you eventually have to decide, okay, where do we actually want our effort and our energy to go in these games? You know, is it mucking it up after every single goalie stoppage, or do we need to, you know, put it more towards focusing on winning? So that's my thought. Like, it's one thing right now, but I do think we will eventually see it slow down a little bit.
I agree. It slows down as we get later into these first series. Well, in these first series, it'll either ramp up or it'll slow down or it'll do a little bit of both. I think it's a little series dependent, right? This type of thing builds and then you eventually get more of the fights, not just the scuffles. It's going to get dirtier before it gets cleaner, right? But then when you get to the second round series, everyone's got it out of their system. They're not, you get a reset, right? For that new game one, the hatred, the rivalry that from the prior 6 games, 5 games, 7 games, whatever it was. That's done and over with. You're focused on healing and just licking your wounds a little bit. Certain series, it might be brutal, but no matter what, for Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, for that one, whoever comes out of that series, I think we have a good idea who it's going to be at this point, but whoever comes out of that series, they're not going to be nearly as pissed off against whoever comes out of Carolina versus Ottawa. They're just not.
Very true.
They're never going to be as pissed off and triggered as they are right now. So, you know, the only series, ironically, I think that could get chippier in round 2 than round 1 is if we do eventually get Dallas versus Colorado. That is the only potential one on the map, I think, that could get uglier in the second round than we see in the first.
True. And I don't know why I didn't say this earlier. Can we just say that round 1 is, besides obviously the final, but can we just agree that round 1 is like easily the best round of the playoffs? Like, bar none, it is the best because you have 8 different series going on. You have 3 to 4 high stakes games going on every single night, everything on the line. It's still anybody's game at that point. Anybody can rise above. Heroes start to be made. New rivalries are born. Like, first round's just the best.
And you have more hitting. I keep saying it, but I'll be a broken record. Everybody. You have more hitting in the first round than in any other round. You have more hitting in the first round than teams average in a season. Like Carolina had in one period more hits than they average per game in the regular season. So yeah, that's round 1. You get a lot of it. You have so many games, so many more goalie moments, and not to move us into our next one, because I know we're going to be repeating ourselves for Montreal versus Tampa, but you also have some just historic and memorable moments.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You sound like Patrick Star. Kicking? Well, I want to do some kicking.
Kicking? Oh, I want to do some kicking.
Yeah, kicking, biting, whatever they'll let me get away with. I'll go full Marchand out there. Let's go. Like this is playoff hockey. This is where rats come out to play. Like, so be it. If I'm a rat, fuck it. I'm a rat. But I love this type of hockey where it's like you still have all the goal scoring talent, but the level of hatred and just being a dick to each other on the ice, where it's just like, okay, the regular season was fun and all. Now let's go battle it out to the death and see who comes out on top. Like, it's just another level, you know? It's like, here's your Roman Empire for all of you guys listening. Here's your thinking about it for the day. Like, reach your quota. But it's like Gladium, sine missione, to the death. There is no quarter given. There is no chance of surviving if you have a good fight. You either win or you die. And that's how these guys treat round 1. It's win or go home, but they will put their lives on the line, put their bodies on the line, and truly do whatever it takes to be in the game and to win the game. And there is something about that intensity and heart that is just unmatched in any other form compared to round 1 of the NHL playoffs. It just stands alone in that regard.
Well, speaking of intensity and heart, Bruins and Sabres game 1. This is why we play the game. This is why we watch. This is why the NHL playoffs are pure magic on ice, pure cinema on your screen. This is everything you hope to see. The Buffalo Sabres, who were being denied by Boston and specifically Jeremy Swayman, could not break through. And you could see the frustration building on the ice. The crowd was getting antsy. They kept getting power plays, but nothing good came of them. Boston somehow netted 2 goals. Should have been 3, but Morgan Geekie decided to ignore an empty net. There was only 7 or so minutes left, and things were looking grim. But Tage Thompson caught Swayman sleeping with a behind-the-net tuck. Seemed like that was the only thing that was going to beat him at that point, but it gave them life. But then, Boston fell apart, and Buffalo surged. In a matter of about 4 minutes, Buffalo went from being down 2-0 to leading 3-2. The chaos in Buffalo was immeasurable. A crowd that was booing the team that had gifted them playoffs for the first time in 15 years was about to blow the entire arena sky high. It was also only the second multi-goal third period comeback in Sabres history. Immaculate. I can't wait for the next one.
Well said, Corey. Those goals that happen in 4 minutes, 8 minutes left in this game. It is 2-0 Boston. That 3 minutes left in this game. It's 3-2 Buffalo. And I have to say this, like, I have been on this bandwagon behind Buffalo. I thought you're right. I actually have a lot of thoughts here, so I'll try to rattle them off in a way that makes sense. One, you were right, Corey. Swayman has been the best goalie in this series. I was trying to hype up UPL a little bit. I thought he was going to be the better of the goalies, but no, Swayman has shown he is the best goalie in this series consistently. He keeps Boston in this game because I thought Buffalo was the better team through the first 2 periods. I know not everybody agrees with me, but the shot totals agree with me. It was 37-20 in this game. The hits favored Buffalo 53-38. I really thought they were the better team for the majority of this game, and the breaks weren't going their way. Which is also why my next thought, Buffalo fans, shut the fuck up with your booing.
No,
I'm sick of it. I don't want to hear it. Like, your team is here for the first time in 15 fucking years. I get it. You're out of practice and you don't know how to act. It's the playoffs and you're at home. Don't boo your fucking team. I promise you, Boston fans in TD Garden will handle that for you in games 3 and 4. You don't need to do it for them. Okay? So quit doing that to your team. You should be thanking the Lord above that you have Tage Thompson, who just didn't give a fuck, put the team on his back, and made it happen. Because you're not helping matters, okay? Your team was playing better, and they just weren't getting the breaks that go your way. Also, don't boo your team, and don't be mocking Jeremy Swayman when he is owning you like a brick wall, okay? Like, he's the one guy shutting down your entire team. Don't be mocking him and trying to throw him off his game. Okay, Corey, you said this to me. The team in front of him is going to hear you say that. And they're going to want to fight harder to defend their goaltender, right? So just, I get it. You're out of practice, Buffalo fans, but these are some 101s, and these go for Avalanche fans too, and just all fans around the league. Let's not boo our own team. And let's not be chanting or trying to make fun of the opposing goaltender. It's not a good idea. But you got a historic comeback, an electric comeback. It was stunning to watch. It was historic. That building was pure bedlam. Like, it took down the rail outside of the arena because there was just so much energy. Everybody was glum and just like burying their face in their shirts, and 5 minutes later, nobody had a shirt on outside in the freezing Buffalo cold. It was, as far as comebacks go, it's one for the ages. Sorry, I went on a little tangent.
No.
If you had any thoughts on any of that stuff.
I've done that plenty, but no, not anything more than what you said. Other than I respect that they then put the railing back up. So that was good. They didn't go further than the railing. They knocked it over, but they didn't like storm the field or anything. They were like, oopsies. So they put it back up. So, it was very romantic.
The classiest thing from Buffalo fans that night was bringing the rail back up after they knocked it down.
The snow started to fall. The shirts were flying. Good stuff. Last one of day 2 here, and that's Vegas and Utah game 1. Fuck you, Rico, and fuck you, Vegas. Utah's inexperience really showed here, as poor decisions and ramped up play by Vegas evaporated their measly 1-goal lead and stole the game right back. Vegas takes game one, but Utah was incredibly chippy and feisty. Who knows if that'll work for them, but it'd probably be best to stay out of the box.
Yeah, Utah can't be going to the box. They need to, if they're going to go to the box, they need to be on even terms with Vegas, because I do think 4-on-4 hockey favors Utah, actually, but they can't afford to be down a man with their penalty kill versus the potency of Vegas's power play. And I really thought this was just Vegas being a third period team on display. I was impressed that Utah was able to have a lead. I actually think Utah is a grittier, chippier team than they get credit for. So compared to some other analysts, I liked that they're playing Vegas's game, because I think it is Utah's game as well. This series, this game was super physical from the jump, and I expected it to be. Now, Utah was 20 hits fewer than Vegas. I don't necessarily expect them to match Vegas on the hit total, but I did love seeing them not shy away from that, not be afraid of Vegas. So that's just the one thing I'll add. Yes, they need to be cautious. They need to not get sucked into Vegas's game and give Vegas momentum. However, they also can't shy away, because if Vegas senses that weakness, they're going to capitalize on it. So it's a tough line to walk for Utah with their inexperience versus obviously the very experienced Vegas of the last few years.
Yes. Playoffs day 3.
Nice.
The Flyers and Pens game 2. The Penguins genuinely could do nothing. Nothing. Even if something got on net, Dan Vladar was there every time. What's funny, and Dom apparently disagrees with me, but I think Stuart Skinner has actually been playing really solid, better than we've seen him play in the past. He actually looks just pretty solid and just calm in net. Unlike what we've seen before, where it's either, 850 save percentage or 1,000, but I think he's doing fine. But the Flyers are just getting timely scoring, and then they're shutting down Pittsburgh in every possible way. Pittsburgh could do nothing before in game 1. Well, it was even worse now because they got shut out at home. The power play still isn't working, and now they have to go into Philly down 2-0. And I think that is, they've been saying like, oh yeah, it's good that, I think it's better to start on the road and blah, blah, blah. And maybe all Pittsburgh needs to do is go on the road. I would not want to go into Philly fucking down 2-0. They will eat you alive. Plus Gritty lives in Philly. That's where you want to go, down 2-0 in a series? Bad.
Yeah, they have a psychopath as their mascot. So that tells you enough about Philly. And it's fitting. It's Philly. Like, they eat actual horse shit when the Eagles win the Super Bowl. So, like, these fans are batshit crazy. Why shouldn't their team be as well? They have the wackiest and scariest mascot known to man. Who wants to go in there down 2-0 in a series? Shout out Brenny, my friend Brendan. The Big BG has Philly picked to sweep in his bracket. So,
man, and he might
just want to shout him out.
Correct.
The hate of a Baltimore fan against all things Pittsburgh might just pay off here in Philly's favor. But in regards to Stuart Skinner, I agree. I think he's been solid. You're right. He's been more consistent than we normally see from him. But I think my prediction where I was wrong about the Boston Buffalo series, I think I've been proven very right in this one about Dan Vladar being the best goaltender in this series. He has the shutout in this game. I do think he is playing stellar. I think Skinner is solid. I think Vladar has been a step above. And so maybe that's downplaying my view on Skinner just because he's getting out-dueled. This game was crazy, though. In the first game, Corey, they actually didn't have that many penalty minutes. I looked it up. But in the second game, 82 penalty minutes, 9 combined power plays, 0 for 9. So this is purely 5-on-5. And Philly is the better team 5-on-5 right now. There's no other way to say it than that. They are just the better team right now. Porter Martone showing up once he gets the game winner because it was only needed 1 goal in this one. He scores first. So again, scoring in a game, they got a shorthanded goal to make it 2-0 just a few minutes later. This one, they really got Pittsburgh pissed off because Pittsburgh took an extra 22 penalty minutes compared to Philadelphia. And Philly was still out hitting Pittsburgh. They blocked a lot more shots. So just it's fitting that you have a mascot named Gritty because Philly is playing with they are walking sandpaper out there.
Yes.
And it's working. So who am I to tell them to change it? I said they would have no shot against Carolina. Well, this is how Florida likes to play with grit. So now I am concerned that if Carolina gets out of this series against Ottawa, that they're not going to have as easy of a time if it's Philly that they run into on the other side of that. It has me concerned for my bracket, at least.
Let's just certainly say that for all intents and purposes, everything is working for Philadelphia and nothing is working for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen Crosby on his back or just knocked to ice more often than I've seen him making plays that are Crosby-esque. I don't know how they're shutting him down, but they kind of are. And it's really impressive to me.
It is. But I mean, unfortunately, Pittsburgh is old and they don't have a lot of extra star power to rely on right now, unlike some other teams. Funnily enough, I actually learned Colorado has the oldest roster in these playoffs. Did you know that? I think Brent Burns is certainly
really?
Not. Yeah, we do. Our average age is 31. Having Brent Burns and Brett Kulak, I don't think is really helping bring our numbers down. But I mean, yeah, since 2022, when a lot of the guys were younger, and that's when we had one of the younger teams, I mean, that core is still there, but they've just gotten older. So that's kind of the situation as it stands. So that's kind of why. And then, of course, Brock Nelson is your second line center. He's a little older. Nazem Kadri is, I think, 34 at this point. So, I mean, yeah, it kind of checks out, actually, the more you think about it. So it's just funny. So, yeah, we actually, the Colorado Avalanche are older than the Pittsburgh Penguins in these playoffs.
Ironically, I would have thought it was... Oops, sorry there. Ironically, I would have thought it was LA.
Yeah.
With Drew Doughty, Kempe, Kopitar about to retire, right? And now they add Panarin. I don't know. I for some reason I actually thought, especially how slow they play, that it would have been LA. But
no, it is in fact the
Colorado
it
makes sense.
Avalanche.
They don't look old out there though.
No,
they look like they're in their prime.
Yes, because they are. But you were talking about Carolina and Ottawa, which is great because we have Carolina and Ottawa game 2. Our first double overtime. And it is absolutely zero surprise that it came from Carolina. This game was a lot closer, kind of. More so in the fact that despite the fact that Carolina played the better game overall in my eyes, Ottawa had multiple missed goals. I mean, should have been irrefutably goals. But somehow the hockey gods and the posts absolutely blessed Carolina. But this game was so weird because Carolina won in overtime twice. The first was a situation I had never seen. And Dom, I know my mom was talking to you about it. Her and I had talked about it. Jankowski scores on the cross ice feed in OT1 and the arena erupts. Let's go home. But wait, official review says it was offside and the goal doesn't count, except a penalty also occurred after the offside, but it's being awarded but it's still being awarded, but it's actually a penalty shot for Jordan Martinook. What the fuck? Well, he doesn't score that on that. And the first OT concludes. We nearly make it all the way through the second when you can tell both teams are starting to get gassed as defense is breaking down. Lots of tennis type back and forth. But just as it seems a third OT is imminent, the puck finds Martinook in the middle of the slot, who whips it past Ullmark to send Carolina to Ottawa with a 2-0 series lead.
Yeah, this was wild to follow. Would not have believed it in that sequence if I hadn't watched it myself. So I understand if those of you who didn't see it online and are hearing it from us for the first time, I understand the confusion, and we'll do our best to clarify here. Martinook drove the net. And this is again before the offside review, so it has not been called offside yet. So technically, the call for the penalty for a hooking on Martin done against Martinook. He was the innocent player in this, right? So he was not given the penalty here. That happened, and then in the sequence, eventually, is when Jankowski scores. Then they go back and review, realize it's offside. However, there is the way the rule is written is, one, technically the penalty was called first. So even though the offside, you rewind back to before it, the penalty still happened before the offside call happened. And what was explained on the broadcast by the rules analyst, in case you weren't able to see this,
good old fucking Dave Jackson.
Yeah, thank you. I had forgotten who it was. Thank you for jumping in there with Dave Jackson, Corey. He explained that it would not be balanced or fair by the rule book terms to differentiate depending on what type of penalty happened in untimed hockey. An example, not to spoil too much, but from tonight, from Pittsburgh's game against Philadelphia, on their way to the faceoff dot, when there is not actual live play, Crosby's hit with a high stick and a penalty is called. That penalty is still awarded even though the clock is not actively winding. So similarly, if you think of like an untimed down in football, this penalty happened during untimed hockey and it must be honored. We cannot differentiate between what type of penalty happened. If a guy had taken a whack to the head, an intentional high stick, an elbowing, a boarding, something malicious, the offending player would not just suddenly get away with it because it happened after an offside. They would still have to suffer the consequences of that. So similarly, since they are not going to differentiate what type of penalty happened prior to the offside review, in this case, the penalty is still awarded. I was confused and did not know that before this explanation, and then did some further digging to verify. So I hope my explanation here has made some sense. I tried to get my head wrapped around it. I do personally think there is some hockey god here of karma, some balance, that it was offside. So the fact that Martinook missed the penalty shot, I did feel like that was just like, okay, this is fair. Carolina's pissed that they didn't get the goal, but the goal would have been offside anyway. But they got the penalty. But again, it still would have been offside. So if the ref calls it offside the first time before anything happens, then there'd be no goal. So it really just comes down to order of events here. So in a way, worked out that Martinook missed the penalty shot, and then the fact that he was the one who got redemption. I know I've been on a soapbox here, Corey, so the only last thing I'll say is in that double OT, you were right. It was a lot of back and forth, passing it over the center ice line, right through from blue line to blue line, and turnovers galore. But this goal, when Martinook the puck found him in the slot, was the closest either team had to a cycle in the entire second overtime. And it was only like 20 seconds, if that, in the offensive zone. But that's really all it took for Carolina at that point to get enough space to get off a clean look and finally beat Ullmark, who had 46 saves in this game. absolutely absurd, standing on his head. If only his team could have scored, because like you said, Corey, they had so many chances, and he had deserved to steal that win for Ottawa.
Yeah, he was incredible again. So for his sake, I hope he can keep it up. Obviously, I picked Carolina to win, but I know Olmark's been through a lot, so I hope he can continue to succeed. Completely unrelated, did you happen to see that absolute long distance snipe by Michael McCarron for Minnesota to take the lead here? Uh-oh. I think we lost Dom, everybody.
I went on mute there for a moment because it was cutting in and out, but I just heard you say about McCarron's long distance snipe.
Did you see it?
Yes, it just went to commercial on mine afterwards. So I have the commercial right now, but yes,
yeah,
I
have the commercial. But what a momentum shifter, because you have Minnesota. I have to say this now. You have Minnesota who kills off multiple back-to-back power plays for the Stars, including a 5-on-3. They just couldn't stay out of the box for like 6 minutes there. The Stars had infinite chances. Minnesota kills it off. And then, I mean, Ottinger's screened. He can't see that McCarron's about to shoot because the defender's trying to stop McCarron, but Ottinger couldn't see it. So McCarron, that's on the defender for letting McCarron get that one off. And then it just gets right by him. So, you know, I think the fact that they killed those penalties was a big momentum shifter for Minnesota and allowed them to then all of a sudden go back the other way and score. The question is, though, can they hold on to it? But we'll get to that as the game develops, as we continue to talk here. Speaking of, funnily enough, Dallas and Minnesota game 2. Dallas and Minnesota game 2. But yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say 3 unanswered. They had already kind of shifted the momentum from the way Dallas started the first period. But then this was Dallas's chance to shift the momentum back. So it's a bit of a nail in their own coffin in a way to their own momentum, to hopes for Dallas. But again, it's Dallas. They sometimes just find a way. There's still another period of hockey, so we'll see what happens. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, they usually find a way. But speaking of Dallas, Minnesota game 2. This game was more what I expected from these two teams, but God fuck. Minnesota absolutely squandered their opportunity in this game. Missing Zuccarello is a loss, but Dallas is also down key players. Minnesota did well to keep it close, and with about 3:44 left in the third, Dallas takes the dumbest fucking penalty any team can take with a too many men. But for some reason, Minnesota, who is only down by 1, decides not to pull Wallstead for the 6-on-4 and waits until the penalty expires to fucking do it, and basically hands Dallas the win on a silver platter. Not to mention they themselves took a too many men penalty. Fucking hell, series tied. Let's go to mini. Also, can the Dallas fans sit their fucking asses down, for fuck's sake?
Yeah, can somebody teach Dallas fans etiquette, right? And any other chant, because their chant is so fucking annoying.
No one likes it.
Only other thing you didn't mention here is Quinn Hughes apparently listened to the ghosts again, and this time it was the ghost of Evan Bouchard himself giving up on a puck that he could have caught before it goes in the empty net.
Yeah. I don't know what he was doing. Like, dude, no, you have to skate. You can't, no. So
I don't know what happened. Also, this is totally unrelated to any of the games. Meant to say this before. I know I ranted about it last night when we were watching the game together. Can ESPN, can the NHL playoffs be more creative, please? Because just as much as I'm sick of hearing Dallas's goal song, chant, whatever, right? I'm sick of hearing Freebird. We heard it all of the Olympics. Come up. There's so many fucking songs in this world. Do something different, please. Oh my God. Like, can we be remotely creative at all? Can we have any other song on repeat? I've heard it enough. Honestly, or can we hear the slow part, the build in Freebird? I'd be happy about that.
Yeah. And finally, on Day 3, we finally get the Ducks in Edmonton game 1. This took way too long to get to this game. I don't know how we ended up with this like this. It doesn't make much sense, but whatever.
I can explain, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
This I actually understand. It's because the Pacific was the division playing their game 82 on Thursday. When the Atlantic, every team in the East had finished their games by either Tuesday or Wednesday for the regular season, every Pacific team, or almost every Pacific team, was in play on Thursday. So that matchup between the 2-3 and the Pacific was always going to be the latest start. So they had a minimum of, I think it's two full days off, or 3 of technical days, 72 hours before their first playoff game.
Yeah. All right. But I mean, we played on fucking Thursday.
It's about equitable. Yeah, I think it's something that they tried to plan ahead for, just based on how they
the NHL and planning
schedule.
is about as oxymoronic as you can get. Don't.
Yeah, which is why we have this dumbass plan, but this is their plan. It is by design. It is a dumbass design, but they did do this on purpose, so that's why.
But anyway, the Ducks absolutely threw this game, and I will not be told otherwise. Edmonton is like Dallas in that they have the absolutely irritating ability to tie any game in the playoffs if they are down, especially by only 1. It's almost a guarantee. But the Oilers going up 2-0 in the first, the Ducks respond and tie it in less than 5 minutes into the second period, and then end up getting the lead before the third. Awesome. Now you just need to play smart and responsible hockey, and Radko Gudas fell down and gave Edmonton a free goal. Okay, don't worry. Just try and get to overtime, and you couldn't get the puck off of Leon Draisaitl, even though you were double teaming him, and left Kasperi Kapanen, of all people, wide open in front of the net to give Edmonton the lead with less than 3 minutes left. Nice.
Less than 2 minutes left. And raise your hand if it was on your bingo card that Edmonton would score 4 goals. 2 by Jason Dickinson and 2 by Kapanen. Now put your fucking hands down, because nobody would have thought that the 2 of them would each have 2 goals, none for Draisaitl, none for McDavid. What the fuck happened? They scored a minute apart in the first period, then 6.5 minutes apart in the third period. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but this is exactly why I picked Edmonton to win in my bracket, because sometimes the bounces go their way, and it's irritating.
They seem to always go their way. Yeah. I mean, what can you do, I guess? What am I trying to say here? Yeah, that's it for day 3. And so now we're almost to where we're at, and that's playoffs day 4. And the Avalanche picked up the puck once again. And we're skipping ahead here because we're going to talk about them right away. The Avs of the Kings, game 2. Short and sweet. Well, not short and sweet, because I'm going to talk a lot more about this. I hated this game. Every fucking second of it, from beginning to end, except for the winning part. But my God, this was genuinely one of the most miserable watches I have ever experienced. And God bless you, Dom, for being there and sticking it out with me, because I could not have done this by myself. But my goodness, I can't lie. When the Kings ended up breaking the tie first in this game off of another superb Scott Wedgwood performance, I was worried. I thought it was over at that point. I thought that was it, that the Kings were just going to be able to shell up, because, I mean, hell, the Avalanche, no matter what they did, just could get nothing past Forsberg, who also had another fantastic game. But this is where we were talking about, where the Avalanche's big boys, they, haven't scored as much as you'd want them to in this series. And Martin Necas, my God, has he frustrated me in this series immeasurably, because he's passing when he should be shooting a lot. And I get it. He wants to try and set up the best play. My God, man, you've had the shot so many times. Please just take it, especially with Forsberg. You don't know what's going to go in, and you don't get a lot of unblocked looks at the LA Kings net. who that's all they've done is block an immeasurable number of shots. I think immeasurable has been the word of the night here, but has blocked an infinite number of shots here. You need to take the shot if you have it. So, my fucking God. But anyway, with the big boys, I mean, Marty Necas, even though he's frustrating, sets up Landeskog for the tying goal. So, I mean, I can be critical of their game all I want to, and I think other people are being unfairly critical of other big players' games because they've still been getting the goals when we need them. And once again, DJ Smith, we scored the 2 goals and they got us the win. It was a stressful overtime, and for the first majority of it, it was all Kings. They had control. But I mean, credit to the Avs defense, who throughout the entire game did not allow a lot of looks at their own net. And really, the Kings didn't get a lot of shots on net because every time they'd go to shoot, the Avalanche would be there to take it away. I mean, their defense has been impeccable, impactful, insane. Lots of I words there. But it was a stressful game. But all it took was one good shift by the Avalanche to then finally get the puck on net, which it was blocked again. It wasn't even Forsberg who made the save. It was blocked by Brant Clark. However, Nick Waugh was there this time. And because Forsberg didn't see where it went, because Brant Clark blocked it, Waugh was able to knock it into the net. Waugh past Forsberg. How many of you thought you'd be saying that in 2026? But just before that, Nathan MacKinnon was blocked on a wide open net chance from Necas, who could have shot it, but he passed it to MacKinnon, who actually made it to MacKinnon. It was a wide open chance. And it's not that MacKinnon missed this time. This isn't the Olympics. It was the fact that they blocked it again. And so, I mean, credit to the Kings, who have just been selling out every single game. And they've done it 2 games in a row, and I do genuinely wonder if they can keep doing it. I wondered if they could keep doing it after game 1. Fine. They've done it 2 games now. And that's the whole thing, is they really have executed on their system the way they want to play perfectly. Perfectly. I mean, what more can you ask of them? Truly, what more can you ask of them? And they're walking away with nothing because OT points don't exist in the playoffs. And, you know, what's super funny to me is I saw a social media post about a Kings fan complaining about the atrocious refereeing. And that's so funny. I think it was specifically after game 1. But regardless, that's so funny that you say that because, you know, whoever you are, random Kings fan, that is one thing we can actually agree upon. However, I don't know what you mean, considering the Avalanche have gotten no power play goals. You have gotten 2 power play goals in the series. In the first game, each team had 5 opportunities. And in the second game, let's see, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 opportunities to score on the power play, whereas Colorado only had 4. And 3 out of those 4, or I think it was, wow, that was a crazy shorty. That interrupted my train of thought. But multiple of Colorado's power plays were immediately nullified by soft calls from the referee in your favor. So that's just weird that you're complaining about the refereeing and that people are saying we're somehow frauds because we're not utterly just, you know, blasting 8 goals past you every game. Also, I did hear from THG that apparently LA is worse at home than they are on the road. I'm not saying that's a guarantee for anything. But what I have, you know what, I'll pause right there, Dom. There is one more kind of big thought here that I have, but I don't want to keep going. I want you to jump in here if you want.
Oh, yes, I have some things to say. Going back to where you started, short and sweet, this game was not. That would be my one
God.
Because my biggest gripe with the refs is, yeah, they called some soft bullshit. Anytime the Avalanche had a power play, it was gone 20 seconds later on some bullshit. They didn't call things that they were calling against the Avs in the Avs' favor. When like Natchez and McKinnon get cross-checked down when they're bending over to pick up a stick right in front of the ref, no call. So a lot of bullshit going on there. I was saying the Zebras are biased because LA wears the same colors and they thought they were related. But they're blind, so they can't tell if stripes are vertical or horizontal. But my biggest gripe is how fucking long they would take to drop the fucking puck every single face-off. Taking forever. For fucking ever. And lest we forget, so the Avs dominated this first period. They were cycling, getting a bunch of shots. They just didn't get past Forsberg. So I thought this was a great first period from the Avs, and they just couldn't convert. But again, goalie doing goalie things, Doughty always being in the way. What you gonna do? You just got to keep firing. The second period, we can't forget to mention the glass breaking and a 17-minute delay when the Avs had some momentum, and poof, there went that. That's when the Kings started to get some momentum of their own. Corey, you can't ask anything more of the Kings. Well, you can. They've played their style of game, and they have 2 goals in 2 games. They need to put more pucks in the net. You can ask that of them if you are a Kings fan. It is reasonable.
Ask that of them. Can I jump in here real quick?
Right.
Just with the glass.
Yeah.
I saw some extreme reactions from some people, like there needs to be arrests and they need to be banned. Blah 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 blah. Like, no. I agree that it's an unfortunate incident, and I'm glad that DJ Smith and the rest of the staff and players are okay in that regard. But suddenly people are acting like banging on the glass and shaking the glass is like a new thing, and that only these terrible, rowdy Avalanche fans are the ones who bang on the glass, and he was trying to break the glass. Like, no, he fucking wasn't. Everybody was hyped up off of the penalty shot save. Name one fucking arena in the NHL where people aren't banging on the glass. I am surprised that the stanchions behind the bench are actual glass, whereas everything else is that flexible acrylic, because obviously they changed it from real glass because too many guys fucking broke it. But, like, what are we talking about? Like, it's silly. It's like, oh, how dare these Avalanche fans fucking break the glass? Like, Jesus, Criminelli, my bad, I guess. So I find that silly. And to quickly respond to your referee thing. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Just
no, you go for it.
You had reminded me that I did want to say something in the fact that it slowed this game to a crawl. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's what the Kings want. So again, what fucking problem do you have with the officiating? But I mean, yes, it slowed the game to a crawl, and that's the problem, is it's the latest game of the night. Again, I'm not saying don't call penalties. Call penalties that are penalties, but they were calling everything. Things that weren't even calls, exactly as we discussed earlier. They would never call it in the regular season, so why are we calling it now all of a sudden? And then it's wildly inconsistent where they call it on us, but not on the Kings. So I don't fucking understand. I'm fine if you make a call when it's a call. It happens. But call it both fucking ways. Not to mention, when the Kings scored their only goal, there was multiple infractions they committed on their own power play that went uncalled and unnoticed. So that's all. Carry on, Dom.
I'll mention the cross-check in front of the ref, in front of the net, right before that puck goes in, like 2 seconds before.
Exactly.
So, yeah, multiple infractions that there was less that the Avs had their power plays negated over, and then they get a goal. Whatever. Avs got the win. But this game, yeah, took for fucking ever. One, it should not have been the late start. Vegas actually is in the Pacific time zone. They did not need to start half an hour earlier. This game took over 4 fucking hours. I didn't get home until 12:45 in the fucking morning. This is obnoxious and unnecessary with how long they were taking. I don't blame them. Glass broke, right? They did a great job fixing it as fast as they could. Did it in 17 minutes. That, it takes time to fix things when there's all that glass jammed in there, cleaning it, making sure it's safe for the Kings bench, for the fans. I thought they did a great job doing that quickly. As far as the fans breaking the glass, even if it's not the tempered glass and the acrylic, it's still not supposed to break. It's supposed to be tough enough. And fans are going to hit the glass, like you said, Corey. They hit it in every arena around the league. This is part of hockey. So if you got such a problem with it, just put in the acrylic. Like, why isn't it in right there? I don't get it. Why is it different? It makes no sense to me. Just make it consistent, because pucks go into the bench all the time. So it could still happen that glass behind gets broken by a puck hitting it too hard, rather than, just putting in the acrylic. Again, my opinion, it's not going to get fixed right away, and it's probably not going to get fixed because it's a good idea. So once again, Bettman won't implement it because the laws of Bettman do not make sense. But yeah, took forever. Calls were inconsistent. And that slowing it to a crawl certainly favored LA. It really took the flow out of the game. It was just a very, not boring, but slow and just choppy game to watch. And like, I still had a good time watching with you.
Yes.
It's always a treat. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, that game, I probably would have passed out in the second period if I was watching at home alone without the interaction and the other things to stay awake.
I had a couple people.
Because again, I was tired. I got home late. Brutal. And I did want to bitch a little bit about that, where I was like, why is the team in the Mountain time zone starting later than the team in the Pacific time zone? I don't get it. It does not make sense. Vegas should be starting later. Whatever.
Yeah, because the next game against LA is going to start at 8. That makes sense because, you're in LA, but yeah, silly stuff. Did you have anything else you wanted to add there? I do have one final point I think I want to make here, but if you had anything else, I didn't want to stop you.
Let's see, because I think we're just nearing the right. The only other thing, when you were talking overtime, that's the only thing I didn't get to mention my thoughts on for the Wah goal.
Oh yeah, please.
Goal. I said that so weird. I had a tongue twister there for a moment. I just downed a cough drop. But that block, the puck dropped right on his stick. He wasn't even facing the net, the backhander. That is why it scored. You're right. Forsberg didn't have a shot. He didn't see it. The block actually cost him. I feel like I mentioned this last episode when talking about Wedgwood's stats, but the philosophy of to block shots or to not block shots, when a goalie can see it and it is unobstructed to the net, statistically, they are more likely to save it. So LA, please be my guest. Keep blocking shots. Yes, you're keeping low score in the games, but the Avs are still getting there. They're still getting their chances. They're still scoring. They're still the faster team with the puck and without the puck. I trust them to win out in the patience of that long game. And then, Corey, I know you have one other point. I'll have one final point about my attire during the game and how we shifted it for luck. It needs to be mentioned because I thought it was funny. But we can do that at the end.
Yes. My last thought is, it's genuinely a compliment to this Kings team, where not that I wasn't confident that the Avalanche could beat them, and I'm still confident that the Avalanche can beat them. But I mean, they came to play. They really did. They have not rolled over easily. They have managed to make the Avalanche, I don't know if uncomfortable is the word, but force the Avalanche into a style of hockey that I think fans are not necessarily used to. And that if the Avalanche could help it, they'd probably rather not play. They'd rather play the open, free, speed skating style. But I mean, LA has done well to limit Colorado to those 2 goals a game to win it. And I mean, they by no means have looked necessarily poor. I think they've really done well to hang in this series. I think they have exceeded people's expectations, mine included, with how well they have managed to keep themselves in it against Colorado. So I have to compliment them on that.
And that's a good point. They've certainly overperformed expectations. And just to reiterate what we said before, just because the Kings are overperforming expectations does not mean the Avs are underperforming.
Exactly.
The Those don't have to go hand in hand. So the Avs can be playing there just fine, playing well, and the Kings just still overperform. So I just think it's important to hammer home that point. But Corey, if that was your last thing, it was funny how in the second period, right, you have the penalty shot save. For the first 2 periods of this game, everyone, I was wearing the brand new Nordiques Burnsy jersey. Thank you again, Corey, for acquiring that on my behalf. And I also had my lucky Nordiques hat that I've worn to multiple games for the Avalanche when they've won. So in the third period, I take off both because the Nordiques luck, and we're a little stitious here at the Captain Avalanche Fancast. And then the power play goal happens for the Kings. And so it was like, well, that didn't work. So I had to put the hat back on. And then a minute later, Landy scores. So apparently, when watching games with Corey or during this playoffs, I'm not going to wear the Burnsy jersey during the games, but I am going to wear the Nordiques hat. And we'll see if the luck keeps rolling because, it's fun to get a little stitious. For some reason, the Nordiques logo in its majestic beauty just is not bringing the puck luck this Avalanche team needs.
Man, and it sucks because those jerseys are so nice. But, yep, you'll just have to wait till next season. Trust me, it hurts me too. I have a Parker Kelly one that I would love to wear. But I do wear my Landeskog jersey all throughout playoffs. I do not change from that. But, yeah, I agree. It sucks because they're just nice. And does the jersey you're wearing ultimately mean anything? I don't know, but I believe in lucky stuff. I'm not stitious. I'm superstitious. So we're just gonna roll with it that way. But we do still have a few more games to get through, so I'm gonna keep doing that. Avs and Kings do drop the puck in LA for the first time when you are listening to this today. That is at 8 p.m. as we said. And then the next one is at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time, but that would make it 1:30 Pacific Time, which does make sense. Now, Avs and Lightning game 2. Once again, another overtime game. And I have to say, Hagel versus Slavkovsky, what a battle this is going to be. The 2 top scorers on the 2 teams going at each other. And holy shit, did fucking Hagel block the shit out of Slavkovsky. I mean, rang his bell night. But just another really close, tight game. Both of these teams have talented offenses. And I think Tampa Bay admittedly is a little deeper, but I mean, both teams have been getting contributions from up and down the lineup from both forwards and defense. That's what's making it so fun, that the series is so tight. I'm so excited now that it's going back to Centre Bell in Montreal. That's going to be an electric atmosphere. People say that the best place to play is in the Bell Center. I am sure those people are rabid for some playoff hockey. And so far, we're 2 for 2 on overtime games in this series. Would not surprise me if we go 3 for 3 tomorrow.
This series is destined for 7 games. It's going to be 7 overtime games. It's going to be the best series we've seen in the first round by far. I think it's going to continue to be, but it might be one of the best series we've seen in years in the first round with just how close it is. If every game does go to overtime. I think what's important about Hagel and Slavkovsky is they both have 3 goals in 2 games in this series. In addition to the fights and the chippiness. Slavkovsky got his bell rung. He got right back up. Respect.
He wanted to go again.
He's bigger, but Hagel's an actual fighter. Yeah, Hagel's an actual fighter. Slavkovsky was ready to go again, so he's not nearly as experienced. Yes, he's the bigger guy, and the lack of experience showed, but I love what I've seen from him in this series. Also, these teams are just batshit nuts in their hate for each other, right? Because in the first period, before we have that fight in the second period, we have all 10 skaters in the box at the 14:20 mark of the first period, all for roughing. But Corey Perry, for once I'll say thank you, he gets a double minor for his roughing, and he was chirping in the box the whole time. And that is how Montreal scored their first goal of the game on that ensuing power play. So you have all 10 skaters who were on the ice at the time in the box, but the extra roughing to Corey Perry means Montreal gets a power play, and with only 9 seconds left on that power play, Lane Hudson gets his first career playoff goal with assists from Suzuki and Caulfield. So I just thought that was cool. I also liked it because I'm rooting for Montreal in this series. Really funny. I also like when things don't go Corey Perry's way. So just an enjoyable series of events there in the first period. Second period, once again, like Tampa was better at 5-on-5. And just like in game one, somehow Montreal finished the period with a lead. But ultimately, Kucherov tying it up in the third, finally scoring. Did you know? Apparently he had gone there was a series of consecutive games where he hadn't scored a playoff goal in. That was his first playoff goal in years, apparently, for Kucherov.
I did know that, and it's kind of remarkable, but then that tells you if he can get going, that is not good news for Montreal. But I also agree. We love it when things don't go Corey Perry's way. And also, I'm pretty sure it would not surprise me if this series has more penalty minutes than Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, because my goodness.
Ironically, though, these two teams had only 52 minutes of penalty minutes in this game.
Since there were so many of those
were just the roughing calls. Yeah, it did. It did. But it'll be interesting to see. We'll have to total those up at the end of the series, at the end of round one, whenever that is that we record that episode, and we'll bring you totals from every series.
Yeah. I'm with you. But anyway, Buffalo Bruins and Sabres game 2. There was no magic in this one. And to be totally honest, Boston kind of just played the same way that they did in game 1. And they were very effective at really just kind of keeping the Sabres offense out of their net, even though the Sabres, I think, still played solid offense again. Swayman has been up to the task, and it also doesn't help when a puck bounces over your goaltender's glove. The noise I made when that happened, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Morgan Geekie, and this kind of goal has happened before, but you definitely don't like it when it happens in the playoffs. Morgan Geekie backhands the puck from center ice, just a soft chip in. It's on net. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen does the silly thing and doesn't put his body in front of it, which is what you are supposed to do. Because if you've ever played baseball, you know what happens when you just try and catch it with your glove. And it hops right over his glove because it takes an odd bounce and into the net. That gave Boston I think that was the 3-0 lead at that point. And with as much trouble as the Sabres
No, that was 2. That was only 2.
With as much trouble as the Sabres have been having right now, that is just bad. And, they did end up scoring 2, but if the Sabres are going to win this series, which I still believe they can do, it's only 1-1 right now. What the fuck was that?
Huh?
That was terrifying. What the fuck? Anyway, if the Sabres are going to win this series...
You good?
I think so. I heard like a creepy fucking noise in my house, but I don't know where it came from, so I'm scared now. But if the Sabres are going to win this series for the third time, they need to get started quicker. And I mean, you could maybe make the same conclusion about the Avalanche, but the Avalanche have won 2 games in a row, so it is what it is. But the Sabres have now been completely stymied by the Bruins defense twice, and the Bruins didn't collapse this time. And so, I mean, to me, it's tough because I know that they can score. They were one of the highest scoring teams in the regular season, but they're going to need to figure out how to get goals a little sooner rather than trying to rely on the final few minutes of the game and trying to pull off a miracle, night after night. UPL has been fine. To be totally honest with you, Boston isn't blowing them out by any means, although a 4-0 lead in the playoffs is definitely a lot more insurmountable. But I mean, they need to be a bit more timely with their goals here. which is easier said than fucking done. But I think it's still a valid criticism.
Yeah, it is a valid criticism. This I also think what you said is very accurate. This game was very much like game one. The Bruins just scored 4 goals instead of 2. That helps, right? That helps to give yourself some more margin. UPL was okay, but 4 goals on 19 shots, and that one he gave up, he did not have a good game. He did not help them out any. But you're right. Buffalo is not Vegas, and Vegas we've already established was fraudulent during this regular season. So waiting till the third period to try to come back every game is not a recipe for success. You're not going to be Cinderella and do the magical fairy godmother there to save you every time. It's just not going to happen, especially if you're waiting till the final 6 minutes of the game, not just the third period, but the final 6 minutes of the game every time. It just does not work that way. Hockey is not going to work that way. Like, I appreciate the fact that they scored 2 goals in a minute and 14 seconds. Gave us all some hope that it was about to happen again. But you can't rely on that. You're right, Corey. This Sabres team needs to get going quicker. Otherwise, once again, my bracket's going to take a massive hit, but it doesn't really matter. I don't know. I think I certainly underestimated this Bruins team. I do think the Sabres still have had the better of control of possession, more shots, more hits, right? This game they didn't have more hits technically. They had 2 hits fewer, but they still are hitting a lot. Their power play needs to wake up. 0 for 5 in this game. They held Boston 1 for 5. But yeah, that's just that needs to be better. With how many shots they're getting, they need to start converting. And that's just hockey 101 right there. Otherwise, we are going to have them become the team that is the question will be asked if they were the frauds, more so than the Knights or the Kings. Because look how the Kings are playing compared to expectations, right? If the Sabres crash out in the first round after finally making it back to the playoffs, it's going to be a question in the media, and they're going to have to confront that. So for their sake, I really hope that they figure this out. But I said this series was going to end in 5 games, and it feels like 7 is a lot more likely.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the Kings' expectations is lower, though. Like, if the Kings lose this series against the Avalanche, it's like, yeah, okay, that's what we expected. But to their credit, it's like, they did well against the Avalanche. They played them better than fucking we thought they were going to. And I do think there is some expectations for the Sabres, but also not, in the fact that, they did so well in this season, but it's also their first season back. So it's like, if they lose to a more experienced Bruins team who's been to the playoffs more recently. But it's also, I agree, it's also, if they lose, it's like, well, what the fuck was all of that hullabaloo about then for you to just get, lose to, in quote unquote, a lesser team. So I think they do have some pressure. I don't think they have as big of pressure as like other teams do. But anyway, I'm gonna keep us
restating or maybe
this
clarifying.
Go ahead and finish.
Sorry, I know we gotta do a time check here, but I think it's just, there was the notion we had been talking about how fraudulent this Kings team was, and they have shown up. They've made every game a battle. They've been in it. It's been close. They're doing what the best they can to stay in these games, right? We were complimenting them. Buffalo had everybody in their corner. They didn't have those doubts coming in, at least to the same degree. And so that's more of what I'm saying, is the Kings are overperforming expectations. Even if the expectations were low, they're still vastly overperforming them. Whereas Buffalo is underperforming expectations. Even if those expectations were low, they're still underperforming. So that's more of what I'm saying, is one team is overperforming, the other team is underperforming. If we call LA frauds, it's reasonable to assume that the question will be asked, and quite honestly should be asked. It's our job in the media sometimes, and we're not the official media, but you know what I mean, to ask the challenging question and say, if we're going to call a spade, they way underperformed the hype. And you can have all this offense, but if you don't put the puck in the net, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I agree. It's a bit counter to what's happening with the Avalanche. The Avalanche are not scoring because they're underperforming. The Kings are overperforming. So yeah, it's definitely a different scenario for sure. But Mammoth and Knights game 2. I'm gonna be so real, everybody. There's a problem. This game was on when the Avalanche's game went 4 fucking hours. So I didn't watch too much of it, really. We had it on in front of us on Dom's phone, but it admittedly was not our key focus. I am glad that Utah ended up. Wow. Yeah, fuck. Utah got the win here to tie it up. I'll be interested to see how they do in Utah here. But really, why talk about this game when we can talk about the last game or the most recent game that finished today? And we'll talk about the rest of the games next week because they haven't finished. And that's Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And really, all I have is just one question to talk about that game. And that's, Dom, did we underestimate Philadelphia?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
And again, Porter Martone. Why in the fuck did he only play 9 games in the regular season? Why did it take them that long? Philadelphia would have been the 2 seed in this division if they would have played him for more. I guarantee you they would have won more regular season games. He had 10 points in 9 regular season games. He has a goal in every single playoff game he has played. What the fuck? Why was he on the bench? Why was he anywhere but in the NHL? I don't get it. I really don't get it. He has been a revelation for this team. It's been really impressive and shocking to watch. Sidney Crosby on his ass, not doing anything. And then here's this kid just dominating out there. And yeah, it's a whole team effort. He's not the one putting Sidney Crosby on his ass. I mentioned Sanheim earlier, but it really feels like a brutal passing of the torch where it's not being handed off. It is just being ripped out of Sidney's hands right now.
I think he was in school. Was he not? Was he not on an NCAA team before he came onto the Flyers? I think that's
that
why.
Might have been it.
I was gonna say, I think that's why.
That might have been
he was playing college hockey. But yeah, so now, without getting too deep into it right now, we can explore it a bit more next week as this series likely ends. The Pittsburgh Penguins have everything stacked against them now. Not only did they go into Philly with a 2-0 series hole, they're now in the dreaded 3-0 series hole. And for those of you who don't know, they like to say 3, but it depends on how long you've been keeping track. Only 4 times in hockey history.
God, I hate this. I hate this stat. No, I hate this.
I'm not going to bring up the fact that the Kings did it to the Sharks, Dom. Only 4 times in history has a team ever accomplished a 4-game comeback after being down in a series 3-0. Because again, to win a series, you have to win 4 games. And when a team has already won 3 of them and 3 of them in a row, they then have 4 chances to end that series, and they only have to win 1 more game. You have to win all 4. The odds are not looking good for Pittsburgh because Philadelphia has just outplayed them at every point. And since we're a fan cast, what did I do? I asked a Philadelphia Flyers fan, as unbiased as you can be, what is working for the Flyers and absolutely not working for the Pens. This is from Coach Dillon, by the way. You may remember his insights from earlier in the year. He said one word, and that was intensity. And then he said the long-winded version, the Flyers are sticking to their game plan that enables them to roll all 4 lines. When you can do that, everyone feeds off of good play. It boils down to every single player contributing something. He said minus Michkov. Poor Matvei Michkov. I feel bad for that kid. But that is what he said. So we will see in a couple of days if kind of the unthinkable happens here and that this series is over. Because it very well might be. Their last game, it's not on Friday. We will have to wait an extra day. It is going to be on Saturday. So keep your eyes to the sky that day. But boy, oh boy, it is not looking good for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it does look like curtains for Pittsburgh. The intensity is a great way to put it. I use the term grit, but I think the intent or the message is the same. They want it more. They're playing like they want it more. They're working harder, and their skill is shining because of it. Their depth as well. You had 5 players score tonight, 5 different players, and all of them, it was their first goal of this playoffs in game 3 of this series. So their entire lineup is getting on the scoreboard. A lot of them getting their first career playoff goal. Zegras, Ristolainen, right? Just to name the first 2 who scored. And the fact that Ristolainen has played this many games and that's his first career playoff goal, these are some heartwarming moments too. This team is inspiring to watch, and why wouldn't they feel like a team of destiny right now with how they're playing? They are manhandling Pittsburgh. And in this game, both teams finally got their power play going, and Philly still did it better. They went 2 for 3 compared to 2 for 5 for Pittsburgh. So, like, even when both teams finally have their power play unlocked, the Flyers were still more successful per chance, right? Or per opportunity with their rate, their success rate. So, yeah, it doesn't feel like I don't know what to point to as the hope or the chance for Pittsburgh to come back into this series. We would have said Crosby or Malkin 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even. They won those cups 10 years ago, actually, 2016. But they're just not those players anymore. And this Philly team has that intensity, that inspiration, back to all the I words, and they're just younger, faster. It's impressive to watch. I think you're right, Corey, in that we didn't see this coming, but maybe we should have.
Well,
things like those last 9 games when we got to see a taste of Martone, for example. But I know you want to jump in here, so go for it.
I mean, what I was gonna say was they're a lot like the Kings in that they have that chip on their shoulder, absolutely. For people underestimating them, people thought Pittsburgh and their veteran experience was going to handle them a lot easier. However, just like you said, I think more people, me included, I fully will admit that I was wrong here. Should have seen them coming because they actually had not necessarily the best points percentage, but they did have the most wins coming off of the Olympic break or whatever the timeline was. They had the most wins in the NHL. I mean, they grinded to get back in this playoff spot. They've been playing well for months now, but people were more focused on other teams. So, I mean, by all means, to their credit, they've been playing extremely well. And now we're seeing the full evidence of that as they're about to sweep Pittsburgh. Thankfully, that's not necessarily a bracket buster for me, but I mean, it's impressive to say the least, but I am going to move us off of this here as we are running out of time very quickly. Dom, I'm going to give you my 3 Avalanche players.
Can I jump in with one
games.
last point?
God damn it, Dom. Yes, you can.
I know we're going to have to move, but you mentioned something there of why we should have seen this coming, and the comparison to LA struck a chord, and I just looked at it. LA set the record with the most overtime losses this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Vegas also had 17.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh had far more than anyone else in the East. 16 OT losses. Philadelphia had more wins on the season, 43 to 41 for Pittsburgh. So, and only 12 OT losses by comparison. So that there is, if we called on how fraudulent LA and Vegas were, I think you're right. We did miss one here on Pittsburgh because the sign was there. The same loser point mentality was there, and we just missed it. Sorry, I just thought that was worth noting. But we can keep moving to the players of the week.
I agree. But Dom, I'm going to give you my 3 Avalanche players of the week because, of course, that's what I do. But I'm going to put you a bit on the spot here. And after I give mine, if you don't mind giving me your 3 other players, just all amongst the other teams here from the games that we've played. You've definitely said a couple names that I think will probably end up on your list here. So I want you to give me 3 other players of the week from around these playoffs. Do you think you can do that, Dom?
I have 4 in mind, so I'm trying to narrow them down in my head. If you need to give
an honorable mention, I will grant you that grace. But for your 3 players of the week, number 3 is Logan O'Connor. And not just him, but his entire line. Every time they're out there are just doing the right things, in that they are making it incredibly hard and frustrating for the Kings to score. They are extremely reliable. Yoel Kiviranta, who is in over a guy like Ross Colton, has gotten or has played meaningful minutes in these games. He has been a big, contributor. Even if that line isn't scoring, they're still generating offense. And I mean, there's something to be said for that. And of course, Logan O'Connor, breaks the tie. Or no, it doesn't break the tie. He gets the game winner in game 1 off of his speed. And he is severely underestimated for the speed that he possesses. So gotta love him. Number 2 is Nick Waugh, for obvious reasons. And one thing I forgot to do is Waugh! Is that not fun to say? Anyway, Waugh, OT winner, second OT winner he's had in his playoff career. Dude is clutch. And number 1, how could I not give it to Scott Wedgwood, who is rocking a plus 960 save percentage, only 2 goals against so far. He's been lights out when the Avalanche needed him to be. The defense in front of him has been immaculate, but when a King shot gets through, he is there. So I have to commend him for that. I have loved how he's looked so far. And Jared Bednar has said, if he has the juice for it, I want to keep rolling with him. And I mean, all credit to him and Blackwood. Blackwood's been amazing, but fuck, why would you not want to stick with Wedgwood with how he's played at this point? But Tom, your 3 players of the week from across the NHL. Or 4.
So I'm exclusively non-Avalanche, right?
Yes, no Avalanche.
Just to try to get some variety here. Hate to say it. Nope. You know what? I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to go there. 2 honorable mentions. Joel Eriksson Ek and Tage Thompson. Tage Thompson put the team on his back for that comeback. Had a stellar game. If he would have repeated it a bit more, maybe he was my original number 4, and I wanted to recognize Eriksson Ek as the most scoring player in that series between Dallas and Minnesota. But 3 stars or 3 other players from around the league of the week has to be, you knew it had to have these 3. Corey, I bet you guess them, but it's got to be Porter Martone, Brandon Hagel, and Uri Slafkovsky. They have been the most electric players to watch. They've scored in almost every game, if not every game that they played. I'm making a slight correction. Martone had an assist in today's game, not a goal, but he still has a point in every game. Hagel probably gets the number 1 spot out of those 3, but those 3 I think are the ones that have to go at the top.
Yeah, I do not blame you for those rankings. So there you go, everyone. If you're not watching the playoffs right now, I don't know what you're doing. My entire evenings are pretty much dedicated to my eyes being glued to the screen. This has been some incredible hockey, and these playoffs have been electrifying. I have loved every second of it. Your fun fact of the day, of course, has to be related to the playoffs, and I'm going to give you a short but sweet one. A lot of people like to remember the fact and point out the fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs are known for their first round exits. In fact, in the last stretch of playoffs that they have made, which has unfortunately come to an end this year, they have been sent home an unceremonious 7 times, which is brutal. Made exacerbated more by the Canadian media. Everybody point and laugh. However, there is a team, and a lot of people would assume that is the worst streak amongst all teams, but you are in fact incorrect. Of the playoff teams the team that has actually had 8 consecutive first round exits ever since their most recent advancement to the second round, is in fact the Minnesota Wild. Nobody really likes to point out the fact, but should they lose to Dallas this year, will mark their 9th straight first round exit. Minnesota and Bill Guerin and all of his dumbass wisdom is trying very much to change that narrative, but they need to get these wins and apparently in this game stay out of the box. That is your fun fact for the day. Also, the Lightning are up to 4.
Thank you for looking into that, Corey. Oh, wow. Yeah, I was going to see what's Pittsburgh at, because I know they've had a couple first round exits.
I know that they have not made it past since, what did you tell me, 2018? They haven't made it past the first round? I think they beat the Capitals that year.
I don't remember.
I think that's correct. I think it's been since 2018.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, the Lightning also have 4 first round exits. So if they lose to the Canadiens, it's like, oh, is the window actually closing? So there you go.
Well, I think that's particularly fitting of a fun fact, and thank you for doing that research, because I know in our last episode, when we were talking predictions, I was like, I'll believe it when I see it, but Minnesota's lost how many in a row when they get to the playoffs? And so as it turns out, it's 8. Let's see if they can break that streak. For those of you wondering, we are tied at 3 with 3 minutes remaining in regulation.
In Minnesota, Minnesota once again, I think, had this game in the bag, and they fucking blew it because they couldn't stay out of the box. So,
yep, we'll see if they can somehow pull it out. But this type of game script, I feel like, is what Dallas does. But again, yep, which we will both enjoy. Corey, dare I say the clock is counting down, though?
Yes, indeed, everyone. The clock is counting down to the final horn. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. If you have something you want to know about the Avalanche, Sharks, or just hockey in general, reach out to us on our socials or email, and we'll be happy to try and answer it. The best thing you can do if you like what we're doing here is to follow us on whatever platform you're using and to share this podcast everywhere you can with everyone you can. I'm Captain Avalanche Corey.
And I'm Dom from the Tank.
Check out our new episodes every week and make sure you're watching the NHL playoffs. Thanks, everyone.